Cute boy. 2 o'clock and I did it. I did have to get up and I ate like almost a whole big bag of chips. When I was reading like the last 30 pages of this, but I finished Starry Night. Yes, it was really good. I think that it had like the dark night of the soul thing that a lot of romances do, which because I've read so many, I kind of get annoyed when it has that in there because I'm like, guys, you've had so much character growth. Like, why do you need this moment where you revert back to your old ways? I just kind of like a positive trajectory the whole time. But Debbie Macomber does a good job of it. It's predictable because all romance is predictable. Let's just be honest. But it's interesting still, and some of the stuff was funny. So I felt like his personality shifted a lot from when you first meet him, and it is like an enemies to lovers thing. But it shifted a lot pretty quickly. Um, it's interesting. I don't really know how to describe this book. Um, so I guess I'll just tell you what it's about, right? I don't even think this thing does it even have a blurb on here. 'Tis the season for romance, second chances, and Christmas cheer with this new novel from #1 New York Times bestselling author Debbie Macomber. She's written like over 100 books, and this was in 2013, I think. Um, Carrie Slayton, a big city society page columnist, longs to write more serious news stories, so her editor hands her a challenge. She can cover any topic she wants, but only if she first scores the paper, an interview with Finn Dalton, the notoriously reclusive author. Living in the remote Alaskan wilderness, Finn has written a mega best-selling memoir about surviving in the wild, but he stubbornly declines to speak to anyone in the press, and no one even knows exactly where he lives. Digging deep into Finn's past, Carrie develops a theory on his whereabouts. It's the holidays, but her career is at stake, so she forsakes her family celebrations and flies out to snowy Alaska. When she finally finds Finn, she discovers a man both more charismatic and more stubborn than she even expected, and soon she is torn between pursuing the story of a lifetime and following her heart. Filled with all the comforts and joys of Christmas time, Starry Night is a delightful novel of finding happiness in the most surprising places. So yeah, part of the book is set in Alaska, part of it is set in Seattle, and part of it is set in Chicago. So, and it's like from the months of November to Christmas. So a lot happens in a very short amount of time. I also like that when it did get to the Dark Night of the Soul, she didn't use what normally happens, which is where the person says something and the other character like automatically believes them and just feels like everything has meant nothing and it was all fake. That doesn't happen in here. It's kind of like I read The Deal recently with that one where there's like the dark moment, but then this guy is like, I know you still love me. You can't lie to me and tell me you don't love me. Like, I know. And being very confident in their relationship with each other, despite the things that the other person is saying to them to push them away. And that's how this one is. So I like that. I don't like it when the characters just automatically assume that everything was a lie. And I'm like, you were living in the moment. Like, how would you think it was all a lie? And so this one, it's just, I really like it. So it's definitely an enemies to lovers romance. He does have a shift in personality where you meet him and he's like super brooding type, and then you start to see some of his sweetness, but also you only really see him when he's with her. You don't see him interacting with other people until the latter half of the book. So he only interacts with like 4 other people during the whole novel. So you don't get like a lot of glimpses into his personality outside of the time he spent with her. He's very stubborn, but she's very smart and she knows what she wants and she knows the sacrifices she has to make to get it. And so I really, really liked Carrie. Also want to point out that Carrie is 5'10". I know y'all are like, what? There, Tall women are not in books very often. Not when they are the love interests, because it's seen as too tall, and too tall is not sexy because men want to feel strong and powerful. And when there's a tall girl, that's harder to do. And the average height of the man is like 5'8". So when you've got a girl who's 2 inches taller than the average man, and the women are expected to be like 6 inches taller than 6 inches shorter than their love interest, for it to be appealing. And so a lot of authors don't have 5'10" female characters because they're seen as like massive and beastly and too big, and that's not sexy. And it's like, no, you can be sexy at any height. Man, I had a friend when I was working at the pizza place. She was like 6'1", and she was a skinny mini. But she was like 6'1", size 6, tiny, tiny little thing. But she was super tall. It's like, heights come in all different shapes and sizes, and we can be cute too. So anyway, I really liked having a 5'10" girl in here who goes after what she wants. Is seen as like very beautiful right off the bat by the love interest, even though he like is very irritated by her being in his space. So I don't want to ruin anything. Like, I really just don't want to give you any details because I want you to go read it. I want you to go read it. I don't even want to spoil any of this. This is one that I would, you could reread it later on. I think you'd still like it. Yeah, I just really like it. It's got a slowness to it because it is such like an isolated type closed in story. There's not like there's 3 different states, but like really it's very boxed in. But I liked it. I liked how limited everything was. And yeah. And the Alaska stuff was cool. But I really don't know what to say about this book. I don't want to say anything else. Like, just go read it. Just go read it. I don't know. Y'all, my dog just stared me down like he's looking at me. You have like an internal clock that tells you when it's time to eat, don't you? You know exactly when it's 3 o'clock. It's not 3, but it's like 15 minutes before his time to eat, and he knows it. He's not nudging me yet, but he's staring at me like, Mom, why haven't you got me my food? So smart. He might come over here and get on the couch with me again. Are you coming up here? You want up? Oh, you're stretching. You're so cute. So cute, baby. Oh, my sweet boy. My sweet boy. Anyway, apparently he wants his neck to be on the camera. Oh, man. So I was going to tell you some more about the guy. There, pick a spot. Okay, pick. What are you doing? Hey, buddy. I was going to tell you some more about the dude. So, he has mama problems. He's got mama issues. He's got women issues. Because the first serious girlfriend he was in love with, he found out that she was already married and her husband was on deployment. So she was just looking for a good time and a distraction. And then his mom left when he was a child. His parents got divorced because his mom didn't want to stay in Alaska for the rest of her life. And the dad was not willing to compromise as far as like spending half the time in Alaska and then spending half of the time like in the regular part of the U.S. You're still looking at me. Why do you keep looking at me like that? But anyway, so he's been like hurt by that. So he thinks that all women always have some sort of personal gain for any of their relationships. And if that is not met, or once they do get what they want out of the guys, then, it's over. So that's been his only experience with women. So with Carrie, her mission is to go and write this profile on him, which will help her advance in her career because she's been stuck doing the society pages and she doesn't want to do the society pages anymore. So she basically tells the boss that she's giving her 2 weeks notice. She's going to quit. She's going to go move to Seattle and try again somewhere there because he's obviously never going to give her a chance as a journalist. And she wants to be like a proper journalist and write about real news and not just people's parties and weddings and stuff. So he's like, okay, if you can get this famous author who no one knows anything about to do an interview, that will be great for our paper. It will boost our sales and our reputation, and I'll give you anything you want. Like, I'll give you whatever story you want. You can be in whatever department you want, all that kind of stuff. So she's like, okay. So she takes her holidays. My husband's calling. She takes her Thanksgiving and she goes to Alaska instead of going to her family. So anyway, because he feels this way about women, when she comes up there to do her article on him, he's like, no. I don't care that it would be a career changer for you. I like living my isolated life up here in my cabin in Alaska, and I don't want reporters constantly coming here hounding me down to ask me a bunch of questions. And so, but the thing is that his best friend thought that like she could be someone to kind of like make things better for him. So he did fly her to his cabin and there was like a storm. So the guy was like, "Hey, I gotta get out of here because of the storm." He like drops her off on this frozen lake, like literally on the frozen lake. And then it starts snowing really hard, and like she can see where the guy's cabin is, and then he's like, "I'll come back after the storm passes and stuff, so it'll either be tomorrow morning or maybe the next day." So it's like 2 days later when he comes back. So during that time, like this guy is trying not to give her any information that she can use against him in this article. So he basically like ignores her and she starts asking interview questions to his dog. And the dog really likes her, which is uncommon because normally the dog does not like strangers. So, but anyway. So then she gets him to play board games with her. And that kind of opens them up to liking each other a little more because they're spending time together. They're in each other's space. And then he like shows her the northern lights and everything. So they have like a couple of cute, sweet moments together, but not much. And he thinks that she's attractive the whole time and she thinks the same about him. And then when the guy finally comes back to take her on his plane, they wind up kissing. So that's their first kiss. And then they start texting for a while, back and forth. And then he shows up and surprises her on Thanksgiving by coming to her place. And so yeah, he's just a wounded boy. He's a man, but he's still wounded by things that happened in his childhood. So the Dark Night of the Soul made sense because the whole time throughout the book, even when they are falling in love, he still has these thoughts that like all women are out to get something. So once the friend kind of tells the girl, she's like, "Hey, did you ever consider that maybe he's just being nice to you and pretending to fall in love with you so that you won't write the article?" And he overhears, and then that friend leaves, and then he's like, "This is my opportunity to end things because obviously I haven't had the strength to end it before. I keep giving in because I really like this girl." So he takes the bait and tells her that that's exactly what he did. That he just pretended to like her so that she will not write the article because being silent hadn't worked. Because she had a way of just getting information out of him without trying, even though he was resisting that. And the thing is she doesn't believe him. She's like, "No, you're lying to me. That's not what happened. You're in love with me. You love me. I love you. Like, I don't understand why you're doing this." And he's so scared that Either one, she is using him in order to write this article on him, which she's already agreed not to do, and she's stuck with that, or they're just going to wind up like his parents, and she's not going to be happy in Alaska, so why even start a serious relationship if it's just going to fail? So he's like, let me take this easy way out. I'll be the bad guy so I can end it. So he does that, but then he's miserable and he realizes how alone he really has been because the loneliness hadn't bothered him before she was in his life. But once she entered it, he noticed, like, how lonely he was. So then he wants to make it right with her, but also, he's so broken by his childhood that he just doesn't know how to let anyone in. And so what he does is he's like, gets his publicist to tell her that she can write the article because that's the way that he'll show that he loves her, because he doesn't want the article out. He doesn't want his, he wants to have his life of solitude. He doesn't want a bunch of other people nosing in. And so that's his way to show that he loves her. He also gives her a penis whalebone from like an extinct animal that's worth like $20,000 or something, because that was a gift that his dad had had. And then earlier he gives her a toaster that the dad had given the mom when he was first falling in love with her. So like there's all these little signs that he's in love with her, but he won't say it directly. But anyway, she still refuses to do the article. Because she needs to prove to him that she's not in it for career advantage. She's really in it because she's in love with him. So she's like, I'm not going to do the article. And then her boss is like threatening her and says, if you don't do the article, then you're fired. And so he's like, go on your Christmas break, go see your family, and think about, this ultimatum, because I'm serious. And she just kind of looks him in the eyes, like, the whole deal that you made me with me being able to write anything and be able to be in my department, it was all a lie, wasn't it? You're not actually going to follow through. And then he's like, it's negotiable. So, like, it was never really set the way that he had said that it was in the beginning. She's like, you know what? I've already lost the man I'm in love with. I don't want to ruin his trust forever, even if we don't get back together. I want him to be able to find happiness. He needs to know that someone puts his needs first, because no one ever has. And so she's like, you know what? If you got to fire me, you got to fire me. I don't care. I'm not writing the article. And then she goes and visits her mom and her dad. And she goes and visits his mom to return the wedding ring that his mom had given her to give to him. Because it was his dad's. When they got the divorce, the dad gave his wedding ring to the wife. And so while she was up in Alaska, she was also trying to get him to reconcile with his mother, but he didn't want to hear anything about his mom. But he does wind up reconciling with her in the end. And she also tells him again, like, hey, I'm not going to write the article. And I'll write it if you do a in-person interview first, because she knows that he won't be able to lie to her face again and to tell her all the reasons why they don't belong with each other, because she knows that he's in love with her and he can't do it. So he's like, you're so stubborn. You won't let me leave you. But he winds up reconciling with his mother, and then they both show up to their Christmas for food and everything. And she didn't know he was coming. And so she doesn't ask for him to apologize or anything, which is the one thing that I felt a little unsatisfactory about. Like, we do get some insights into his head, like we get into his perspective some with the chapters. So, like, we know the process that it's taken for him to kind of figure himself out and to overcome his flaws. Because that's the thing. This book is really not really about her flaws, which is the way that a lot of romances are about the woman's flaws. This isn't about this. This is about his flaws. And so it takes him the whole book to overcome them. So it's not really a backslide. He never really fully got there until the end. And so we don't see an engagement, but we know that that's about to happen. because they kissed and everything, and then she had mentioned children to his mother, saying like, I can't accept this penis whalebone, it's too expensive, and you hold on to it, and give it to your, if we get back together, you give it to one of your grandchildren, basically saying like, I want kids with this man. And he wants the same thing. So after he reconciles with his mother and like knows that she's still super in love with him, he's like, okay, like she has done everything to prove to me that she is not like everyone else, and this can actually work out, and we can find ways to overcome our differences. And so when they see each other, she's like, I will move wherever. I don't care if we live in Alaska. I don't care. Like, I just want to be with you. And so he's like, well, what if we spend half the year in Alaska and half the year in Seattle? Because I want to get to know my mother better, and your parents live in Seattle, so we can spend time with them, but then we can also be in Alaska for part of the year too, because he just loves living in the wilderness in this little cabin that his dad built from the ground up. And so I thought that was a sweet compromise. And then his mom had hinted when her dad was like, y'all go ahead and catch up, but when you're done, me and him are going to need to have a little talk. Because the dad is pissed off that he like broke his daughter's heart. And his mother is like, oh, he will definitely have a talk with you, sir. He was already planning to do that. Meaning like to get permission to ask her to marry him. So, and then they had their little conversation, and they bring up the whole kid thing. And then he finally, for the first time in the whole book, he literally uses the words, I love you, which he only said it once in the entire book. And it was in the end. So I think it would be nice to even see like a little sequel with them, but I don't think it's going to happen. But I can imagine their future together. So those are like the spoils for the book. But yeah, she called his bluff. She knew what he was doing by giving her the article. She was like, he is just giving me this so that he can kind of forgive himself for leaving me, because at least he gave me something. I got something out of it. She's like, but I refuse because I don't want that. I want him. And so she knew that eventually he would wind up offering her the article, and then she knew that she would refuse it, and that would be her way of proving to him that she loved him more than her career and everything else. So just some very strong-willed characters. They're both very stubborn. And but yeah, I really, really enjoyed the book, and I think that if you like romance and you don't mind it being a little bit slower, you'll like it. Which, even with me saying it's a little bit slower, it was only 240 pages long, so it didn't take me long to whip through it. It was like 2 days. But anyway, that's all I have for you. Bye.